All right, YouTube. Tonight, Trump is going to go after Bill Clinton to call him exactly what he is, which is a rapist. There's a link in the description. It's through Drudge. That's where I saw it. Juanita Broderick claims she was raped by Bill Clinton, as have, half a dozen other people. Here's what I'll say. I'm going to give him the same deference that I gave to Bill Cosby. If Bill Clinton has sexually assaulted or raped anyone, we know with Lewinsky it was consensual. Lewinsky's been unrepentant about that fact. If he sexually assaulted or raped anyone, he should get his day in court, a proper trial, and be considered for legal purposes innocent until proven guilty. That being said, like with Bill Cosby, I said, at some point the number of claims, the number of weird things that you have to look at begins to stack up in favor of the person probably being a fucking pedophile, probably being a fucking pervert and rapist, sexually assaulting people. It was like Herman Cain. When Herman Cain was on the presidential campaign back in the Romney years, back in 2012, all it took was, I think, 3 claims against him for sexual assault or indecent exposure to derail his presidential campaign. That's all it required. The media didn't give him a pass. They said, well, this is kind of fishy. This is kind of weird. Why are all these people coming forward? He sort of outed himself, I guess, by being a public figure. By going from someone who was lower key to somebody who had national exposure, naturally people who he had wronged came back to bite him in the ass. Bill Clinton should be considered for legal purposes innocent, but as far as the court of public opinion goes, I think a lot of people understand that Bill Clinton, at the very least, fashions himself as a ladies' man and kind of can't keep it in his pants. I don't think anyone has any illusions about that fact. Just the Lewinsky case alone shows you, yes, he's obviously, at least under some circumstances, not averse to getting his dick sucked while in the Oval Office. However, here's where things begin to break down a little bit. The legal system and the court of public opinion are not the same thing. And in order to actually determine that guilt or innocence, you have to at least have some sort of investigation, something that has never been done for Bill Clinton. He's a mafioso. He's a member of machine politics. And as such, people, when he wrongs them, they tend to shut up because they either get a kickback, which they accept, or they get threatened, and of course Hillary is the one generally that's going to be doing the threatening because she has connections as well. And let's face it, the same people crucifying Bill Cosby in the court of public opinion, deservedly. I mean, the dude has, a couple dozen people coming forward saying that he drugged and raped them. Well, no shit, I think there's something a little bit amiss here. I'm sure that all these people aren't all lying. I think that they're word against just Bill Cosby alone. I think there's reason to trust them. But you've got a similar situation with Bubba Bill. The difference being people have exonerated him time and time again. The media never called for an in-depth investigation into these claims that were made against him. Hillary called it part of a conspiracy. The media treated him with kid gloves. Their fans did as well. Just as some people treated Cosby with kid gloves early on when claims began. After some point, though, it became impossible to ignore them. Now, Cosby's not going to end up serving a day in jail, but his career is effectively over. I think it's perfectly acceptable to scrutinize Bill Clinton because Hillary Clinton, as his wife, as the First Lady, as a person with staff, with a presence in the White House, with a presence in the governor's mansion when he was the governor of Arkansas, would have been well aware what was going on, would have been intrinsically connected to them. For legal purposes, she can't be forced to testify against a spouse. That's true. But as far as the court of public opinion goes, it's fairly common knowledge. If someone within a marital relationship, high profile, a lot of staff running around, a lot of cooks, a lot of basically domestic servants, let's face it, for the president. If they're doing something untowards, word's going to get around at least within that sort of inner circle. Other people are going to know about it, and key among them will presumably be the president's wife. She knew what was going on. Bill Clinton didn't visit Epstein's private island a dozen times for no reason. There's a reason why people went to Epstein's private island. And I'll tell you this, it wasn't to search out, mature models to, be call girls for the night. It was for people who would be considered, in many cases, illicit under most legal circumstances, sort of on his private island where I guess the laws of the world don't quite apply We have the same thing, by the former Italian prime minister was buggering like a 14-year-old or something, and got in trouble. He's out. He had like a friggin' fake volcano in some cave underneath his mansion there that he was having parties at and drinking and having orgies and all sorts of stuff. It's the lifestyles of the rich and corrupt. In Bill Clinton's case, though, no real investigation has ever even been done. Nobody ever really has looked deeper into these things other than to dig up stuff, put it in a tabloid, and say, well, Bill strikes again. He assaulted somebody else, or he raped somebody, or he has an illegitimate child. And no further scrutiny is applied to the Clinton family by any part of the media, including, in many cases, a group like Fox News. They didn't really dig in either, didn't really fucking do anything at all. Drudge is literally the only site that ever went after Clinton in the early days, and it seems to be spearheading the fight against the Clintons now. What I would say, if Hillary knew all of this was going on, as I'm sure that she did, because she's been implicated as well as trying to silence people, trying to harass them into silence, then that does show some light upon her character. Now, I know that Hillary's not a trustworthy person, but Bill Clinton is most likely a rapist, is certainly not what you would call into the whole monogamy thing, it seems. I think that's been admitted to multiple times. And probably is into some weird kinky shit if he was visiting Epstein's Island. Maybe he's not a pedophile, but, maybe he is. Or maybe he just goes there to have, like, I don't know, gay dudes spank him or something. It's within the realm of possibility. Now, if he's having consensual adult sex with people, I don't fucking care. The fact that he was stuffing a cigar into Monica Lewinsky's ass doesn't bother me. It didn't bother me in the 1990s, and it doesn't bother me now. It's two adults doing what they want to do. To hell with the fact that he's the president. It doesn't really matter. But if he's raping people or sexually assaulting people or coercing people as someone who has power, or if he's going to some South Pacific island to rape little kids or something, that's a little bit of a different issue. I'm willing to bet anything that he did do many of these things. Whether he ever gets implicated legally as having done them is a totally different issue. He's the Teflon Don, essentially, sort of like John Gotti-ish. Every scandal sort of passed by and he never got hurt by it. But that's because the Republicans under Gingrich and so forth were utter dumbasses, and they fixated on shit that nobody cared about, like Lewinsky, and they failed to investigate deeper into anything else that he had ever done. Because he's a mafioso. That's essentially, he's organized crime boss sort of figure within American politics. Hillary's much the same. The fact that she happens to have boobs that once gave milk doesn't really make a difference in this scenario. But yeah, when you see how Bill Clinton even interacts with females, like they had one video yesterday where he got some fucking rum or something there and he drinks it and he's like, whoa, and then he immediately like reaches for the nearest woman and is like putting his hand on her shoulder and doing the Bill Cosby thing almost. It was a little bit creepy to watch, and I mean, in his older age, he's getting a little demented, I think. I think he's not quite all there anymore, and he no longer appears capable of even like holding back in public. He's going to be like the premier dirty old man of the United States. Now, again, if it's like consensual adult stuff, who gives a fuck? I honestly don't care. I don't care if he visits a barnyard brothel in Finland, as long as it's legal for him to do that. But if he's literally raping people, as some have openly claimed he did, and there's any evidence to suggest that that's true at all, which I think there is, that's a fucking problem. This is potentially a person who will be the first man of the United States. The former first lady / presidential candidate of the DNC had to have known what was going on. You think she looked into, I wonder why Bill is visiting Epstein's Island these 2 fucking dozen times in the last couple of years? You think she looked into that at all? Either that, or maybe they're both kinkmeisters. Maybe they both knew what was going on. Nobody had a problem with it. I think psychologically speaking, I don't like to pick people like this too often. I don't like to try to pick them apart because you could be totally wrong. But I have a sneaking suspicion that as sort of a mafia couple of sorts, theirs is a marriage of convenience. They probably don't really even fuck each other most of the time. Hillary has sort of whatever she wants sexually, she gets. Whatever Bill wants sexually, he gets. And they sort of cover for each other and just don't say anything about it because ultimately they don't really give a fuck. You know, they're married, they look at it as business, they're in it for the power and the money and so forth. And all that other stuff is sort of on the side. I think that's the sort of marriage that they have. I think there's good reason to believe that fact. And like with Bill Cosby, again, if you have multiple people coming forward saying, yeah, Bill slapped my ass, Bill Clinton raped me, Bill Clinton tried to sexually assault me, Bill Clinton whipped out his little Bill and showed it to me. Now, if you have multiple people doing that, why should I not apply the same scrutiny to him that I would apply to Bill Cosby, or to Herman Cain, or to Anthony Weiner, or any of these other people that have been implicated over time, or John Edwards, that have been implicated over time in such sexual scandals? Even sometimes when it's like blatantly consensual, like with Anthony Weiner, still derails their careers. Doesn't even have to be actual like criminal assault or rape or anything. It can be completely consensual and they're just like cheating on their wife or their husband or something. Yeah, it still gets them fucked. With Bubba Bill, he not only admittedly cheats on his wife, is visiting Epstein's Island, is blamed for having raped multiple women, and yet the media doesn't bother to investigate it at all. I find it strange why they would do that. But then I'm reminded that the same sort of banks, corporations, and foreign entities bankrolling the Clinton Foundation also bankroll large segments of the media. So then I don't wonder anymore. I just follow the money and I say, oh, that's why. It's because they're covering for one of their own. That's why we don't have a true unbiased mainstream media in the United States. That's why I ignore the mainstream media, generally speaking. I'll use a second tier site like Drudge on the one hand, RRT, something like that, even Al Jazeera or foreign news, BBC. More often, I'm going to get that fucking news at the local level if I can, aggregated for me by a million other people anonymously online. I'd honestly rather get it locally or from some blogger that can actually show that they investigated something and can show some evidence that they did. But no, there's no question in my mind that Bill Clinton's a fucking pervert, because he obviously is. As for legal purposes, yeah, innocent until proven guilty, regardless of if he's the ex-president or not. That doesn't matter. But the court of public opinion, when you're dealing with someone and his spouse running for office, needs popularity enough to be voted for, court of public opinion arguably means more than actual legal proceedings when you're in such a position. So this is a little bit of a bombshell. Trump's willing to call him a rapist, which he probably is. I'm willing to go a step further. I think he's more perverted than just the average run-of-the-mill, yeah, I fucked her sideways when she was unconscious, like a Bill Cosby. There's reason to believe that he's doing stuff that's more illicit than that, because he was on good terms with Epstein and appears a couple dozen fucking times in his little book of names and so forth. I think there's a reason why that happened. I think Bill is a serial sexual pervert. Yeah, naturally I do. And in come the Hillary shills. Or the other thing, they'll say, oh, well, Bill's not running for office. Yeah, Hillary knew. Hillary knew. They're a high-powered married couple. She knew. She knew everything that Bill was doing. She probably didn't care if he raped people, as long as he was sly enough about it not to leave too much evidence behind, get himself implicated so her income would decrease. She didn't fucking care, I bet. So yeah, that reflects upon Hillary Clinton to a great degree. You would judge. A lot of the people who will cover for her on this are more than willing to say, well, Melania Trump's just a bimbo. You know, she speaks 5 languages, has a master's degree, but she's just some model bimbo. Trump just married her for her looks or whatever. They're willing to go after her, but will they go after Hillary and judge her a little bit by her choice of spouses? I'm betting not. I'm betting you won't see much of this, unless it's to refute the whole idea. You won't see much on CNN or MSNBC. Probably won't even see it touched by Fox News. Watch as it magically disappears from the front page. It'll get covered once to appease the conservatives, so-called. Then it'll disappear. You watch. That's probably what'll happen. That's about all. Peace out.